All right, we're back for another one. Let me know if you can hear me. Got to make any last minute adjustments, any last minute changes. Let me see. I get my soundboard down and ready to go. If you can hear all that, just let me know. I guess it would make sense that I check the chat, make sure I can actually see that myself. Yeah, so we're back with another show. Right? We had to move up the dates a little bit because work commitments, but I don't think anyone minds, and we might find out there's a better day that works. We're all involved. I know Sunday we got football and everything else going on. That kind of makes things a little difficult. But we're gonna, like I said, we're building it while we fly it. We're gonna dance around with different days just to see what really works, and that just sometimes requires a little more flexibility. But we'll get there. We'll find what works, and then we'll hammer that. We'll stick with that. I think that's just it's going to be a matter of time that we stick a move and see what we see what we can see. That's at the end of the day, we're going to see what we can see. So if I can get just a quick thumbs up for anyone in the chat that you can hear me, and then we can proceed because probably one of the biggest fears is having a whole live stream and there being zero audio coming. Like last time, we were streaming vertically and horizontally, so sometimes that means popping in and out of either chat. But the name of the game is just to put on a show, and if we can get some, likes and any activity in the chat is always appreciated. And of course, donate to the show. You can see that in the vertical, or you can see that right there at the bottom of the screen. Um, Super chat, Cash App, Venmo, it's all the things, right? So again, for this week, the week's not really over, so we don't really have. I appreciate that, Blair. We don't really have enough data to say, okay, what was really going gangbusters. I think one of the more popular ones, the videos this week, was about a young man talking about how he has no interest. He's saying that real man's gonna step up even when he finds out through paternity fraud that the kids aren't his. He's still gonna be a man. He's still gonna be there. Still gonna do the right thing. And probably one of the more hilarious videos that I've put up there, because at the end he's completely he admits, yeah, man, that's not me. And I use that video because, one, it's great to kind of remind people context matters. So if you don't have the entire context of what's happening, i.e., something simple, just wait until the end of the thing to watch it. Then you might find out, oh, damn, I was wrong. That came up in a couple different videos and a couple different things where I think it just reflects our really short attention span, where we don't really wait to get the big picture, while we jump to immediate conclusions. Like the gentleman that was being accused of killing his wife, when he was coming online and saying, "Hey, my wife's missing. That's it. My wife's missing," and everyone was like, "No, he did it. He did it." And that's probably because we watch too much Law and Order, Dateline, ABC, where we're always saying, "Yeah, there's got to be foul play. If someone's missing, the husband did it. Husband did it." And then it turns out they got her on video, parking the car, jumping off, and it looks like it's a suicide. Even then, people are still reluctant to come back and say, "Yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong." And I think this is one of the things that keeps us apart. The inability to come back and say, "Yeah, I was wrong." Then this ties into what the main topic today is, right? About nice guys finishing last. And there's several different ways we can look at this. But the way that really comes to people's mind is, you do the right thing, you follow what society says as a man, right? You do all these things that you're supposed to, and you don't get the girl. And we understand, we understand that it's not about that you're supposed to be guaranteed this girl, right? The love of your life, the woman of your dreams. You're not guaranteed that outcome. But what men are being taught, if you do all the righteous things, that at the end she's going to like you. Doesn't matter. It's not saying that this is a prom queen. This is no. It's even in later on in your life, just do the right thing. Buy the flowers. Listen. Do all the good guy things, and then it'll be your turn. But almost every man has a story or knows of someone else's story close enough for them to either witness or trust. that when they tried that, that wasn't the case. And now that we're, big bad millennials, big bad Gen Z, where we've gotten a breadth of time on this planet, and we've seen a lot of those people that did not want us when we were younger, when we were the good guy, kind of circle the block. And now we're supposed to finish. Now, here it is. But there's a lot of ways we can interpret this finishing last, the finish line itself. And we're going to get that later on into the show. But for now, we're going to make sure we matriculate this game down the field. And if you just come in this, if you're catching this on a replay, shout out to you guys, replay gang. We always appreciate you. And if you're catching this on the vertical, again, we're going to jump back and forth in the chats to see what we can see and where people are. For now, we're going on with the show. So one of our favorite segments. I think they're all kind of favorite, but some weeks it's harder to compile, uh, you know, pristine videos for this or that. But we enjoy the challenge. We enjoy putting things together, and in that same vein, I'm going to try to do this on the regular. Save these things, and if you have videos yourself that you think that fit any of these segments, love and money, crashing out, agree or disagree, you can feel free to send it to me in my email. At least point me in the right direction. Emails in the description in every video or description on the channel. Again, and this is just a side note for myself, as we transition from scene to scene, just going to remind you guys, hit the like button, right? So, um, one of the things that I've been coming across, and I think just with the advent of the internet and more men becoming very comfortable sharing their stories online, is telling people, yeah, this provider stuff, I ain't with it. I'm not with it. The way it's being framed, the way it's being, the PR department behind the provider man, it's not doing what I think people hope it was supposed to do. It just doesn't seem like it's a good deal. And we're getting to the point in time where people need good deals in order to say, yeah, I'm going to go and do this, especially when it's something as big because let's be very, very honest. The amount of people, the amount of men that can pay all the bills is infinitesimally small. It's not a large number. It's not a thing that's just an easy thing to do. But when we make it seem like it is, when we pretend like this is just a normal thing, every man should be able to do it. Sometimes that's because we don't understand what it takes to be that, and or we don't appreciate what that means. What it means for someone to say, okay, if I'm going to be able to provide for you, me, the kids, that means my own personal wants and desires are going to have to take a back seat, while yours don't seem to have to do that. Okay, I'm fine with that notion. It makes me feel like a big man, a provider. Then the kids, then their potential futures, investing into all that. Well, that means I've got even a small little snippet of time for myself on this planet. That is me being sacrificial. We understand sacrifice in terms of women with their bodies, with giving birth. We understand that sacrifice, and it becomes the only thing we look at. That's where the spotlight is. When you're saying for a man to basically say, my life is now going to be dedicated solely to making this happen. And most of them saying it's going to be dedicated solely because you don't have many men making three, four, $500,000 who can afford to do this easily. No, it's even at the entrance to six figures of 100,000, where you can see all the data coming out and saying what would it take for you to live comfortably in each place. And it's saying comfortably, and maybe you and raise one kid and a wife. And some of the data, it's come back saying it's not as dope as you think it is. For those that are scratching on the door of $100,000, shout out to you. It's not an easy thing, despite how the internet may make you feel, make you think it is. So young men now are saying that doesn't make any sense. They're a little less romantic in that sense. They haven't been romanticized to say sacrifice is chivalry and this is how you should be looking at it. They're looking at you as you talk that, and they're just raising their eyebrows. That doesn't make any sense.
Reason I don't fuck with this whole provider man bullshit on TikTok is because all these bitches yap about is a man paying for literally everything. You telling me I gotta get my bread up for two people? I gotta take care of your broke ass, you broke ass bum ass bitch. Meanwhile, you out on the streets right now being a thought. Miss me. Swiss miss me.
So, despite that awkward ending, right? Because every time I look at it, I just can't get it. Um, this is how a lot of them are looking at it. It's it's not that romanticized idea that to do this, I'm just going to now be considered the man. This is what's good for me. This is how it moves. No, they're looking and saying, it's hard. It's hard for them to make sense of any of that. And I can't blame them because, again, the way it's being pushed, the way it's being talked about, isn't in a very positive sort of way. When you see, and we have to also understand that most of the younger generation is getting a lot of their cues right from social media. That's how they interact, that's how they communicate, that's how they learn and experience the world. And what they're seeing is the increase in misandrist sort of ideals, the increase in ideas that men don't really have a place outside of provision. And it's not just young women saying this, is older women saying this. So if they're looking at this and this is a teacher, this is what they realize, this is what they see, they're going to go and kick back and say, "Cool, I don't need any of this." Especially when it doesn't seem to be the determinant factor whether or not they can have sex or they can have children. What is the purpose of marriage now outside of you just kind of running the show and threatening divorce and then leaving with half of my stuff and put me on some sort of schedule for seeing my kids? If we're going to do that, just do that now without the marriage, without the state in the business. A lot of men, this how a lot of young men are looking at it, and the older generation of men are not disabusing of that fact. They're not telling them that, hey, this may be a bad idea. You should try something different. No, they're agreeing with them. They're like, this is, I get it. I get it. This is what we're gonna do. I'm fine with telling you all this.
Bro, I just seen a video of a nigga saying, ask your girl for $50, bro, just to test her, just to see what she do. You know what I'm saying? Like, just act like you left your wallet at the crib. You need $50 real quick just to borrow it, right? And it dawned on me, bro, it's a lot of bitches out here, bro, who will pay $1,500, gang, to go see Chris Brown. $1,500. But won't get a nigga $50, bro, and try to make a fucking excuse about that. Then here they go in the comments. Oh, I'm not giving no man no money. I was raised like that as a man. You should have your own this and that. You don't have money on you. You don't have cash. Whole time, gang, you just being tested, and they don't understand that. But you will go give a nigga who you don't know $1,500 worth of your money, shit that you probably have to work for 2 weeks just to save up on. But you can't give your man $50. Yeah, when I said that blew my mind, bro, I had to actually think about that. Like, bro, that's so sad that we actually got to talk about this shit. Bro, I am baffled. I am flabbergasted.
So listen, I ran and I saw a couple different videos, a couple different responses to that, and he's not lying. That really was the response. That I'm not giving you money. That's not what I'm supposed to do. That's not my role. You're supposed to be able to do X, Y, and Z. Most of the men are looking at that and is like, yo, this is incredulous, right? Where we can't even understand that it's just the saying like, hey, I'm having trouble doing X, Y, and Z. Help me out, right? That's what men are looking at and say, no, this this really can't be the case. That I can't get any type of assistance in just, hey, I usually pay these bills. I'm usually in charge of this. I usually take care of X, Y, and Z. Where is the sort of reciprocity? Where is the help? That's really what men are getting at. Just wanting some sort of assistance. Not saying that this is what you have to do, this is your lot in life. It's really just that simple. If I'm doing this for us, for our family, why can't I get any type of assistance? And in that vein, it's just like, it's not that I want you to carry the load. I want to know that I'm not here alone. For whatever reason, a lot of us can't understand is how is that looked at as so just negative? How is that looked at as it's an impossible ask, it's an impossible task? It just makes us really like start evaluating and looking and saying, oh, you know what? It does appear that I don't really have a purpose here. I'm not really important into this relationship. That is a thing that makes people feel like, well, what's the point? And most of the time when men feel like that, when they get to that point, all they want to do is just start backing up. All they want to do is say, you know what, this is fine. This isn't for me. This isn't really what is important to me at all. Again, like we said before, when men can get access to a lot of, women, right? They can get access to sex. Having a child makes it seem like it's a higher bar. It's a lower bar than marriage. So men are getting the things that they're desirous of. They're getting the women, they're getting the children, they're getting sex. Marriage, why? And we're probably going to get back down to the point where it's just looking at saying relationships, why? If, right? If I can't look at you and rely on you for something as simple as just, hey, give me some help, right? And we understand shit tests, and we understand the nature of shit tests not being the best things out there. But men are also capable of doing the same thing. Before I open up the floodgates, before I show you, where the bodies are buried, before I show the truth of me and all of me, I've got to go and see what type of character you have. And I think a lot of women come around kind of failing that.
For those that need to hear it, if he wanted to, he would. Right now, I'm working my second shift. I just finished my full-time job, just doing DoorDash to be able to pay for date night this weekend. I pay all the bills. I do most of the cleaning, and I do all of the cooking.
You're a fucking idiot. What are you flexing? Your girlfriend not.
So yeah, this took me a little while to track down this video. I saw it one time and then it absolutely disappeared from the internet. But so many people would reference it because you're doing all of this so you can be known as a provider. So you can say you're a provider rather than saying, why would I want to be with anyone that was comfortable with me doing all of these things? With me doing all of these things for them and they just chill at home. That doesn't make any real sense, right? That's how men are looking at it. That's not really help. You don't really it just seems like you don't really care about me if that's the most important thing to you, right? If me busting my ass and you just chilling at home makes you feel like, oh, I'm a provider. I'm a provider. You have to understand that someone that really cares about you, it's they're not going to want to watch you suffer. They're not going to want to watch you beat yourself up just so they can have a slightly easier life. That's really not love. But when you grow up in a TikTok, Instagram generation, when they're telling you what it is, what it means, what it is for, then yeah, it makes sense that you would think that way. It makes sense that you would be kind of skewed and believe that things are like that. I find it difficult to accept anything from a man. Too many times it's been mentioned for, yeah, I get that. I get that it may be difficult, and we look at a lot of our experiences, right? Right down the middle. It happened to me, so it's possible it's going to happen to me again. But when you look at just the numbers, the sheer number of it, how many men are on the planet, how many women are on the planet? I'm not going to make the next person responsible for the way the last relationship I had ended. If and when, because it's very easy, very simple for us to do this, we carry it forward. All it does is spoil that next thing. And as people get as some people are more and more healed and more experienced, you let go a lot of that trauma and it makes it very easy for you to recognize it in other people. When you see someone coming and you see that's unhealed, I'll give you a simple example of it. You're having a very normal life, you have a very normal conversation, you're on a date with someone, you're having a great time. And then something is said and you get a disproportionate reaction. A disproportionate reaction to what was said. That's someone reliving some sort of trauma, some sort of something triggered in them. And now you're getting the response that was probably earmarked for the last guy or for the person responsible for that trauma. You can put it in an even simpler way. You had a bad day at work. So when you see your spouse, significant other, the love of your life, somehow you end up taking it out on them, undeservedly so. Sometimes it's because that person created a safe space environment around you. So you feel like you can do it. But now they are the recipient of your damage and they simply don't deserve anything like that. Anything like that. So to them, it's unfair. To them, it comes out of nowhere. And when you're healed, you recognize that very instantly. You recognize that and you say, oh, okay, cool. This isn't for me. Right? That's all you say. You say, this isn't for me. But that aside, the probably should connect. When this, kind of branches out and it gets a little bigger, we'll create little segments in there where we can sit there. We can just go back and forth in the chat. And before we do, probably in between segments, we'll just create like a chat segment, right? But besides that, listen, the show, must continue, right? Stay tuned.
I'm probably gonna see a specialist. I got road rage, been burning rubber so reckless. I'm a crash out. I got road rage, I've been burning rubber so reckless. I'm a crash out. I got road rage, I've been burning rubber so reckless. I'm a crash out. I got road rage, I've been burning rubber so reckless. I'm a crash out. Got 100K on my.
Listen, and we're not saying yay to crashing out, right? We're not we're not advocating that, but it is a very real thing today that happens, each and every day, especially when it comes down to relationships, especially when it comes down to money. Right? That's a very easy way for people to get upset, to crash out. And one of the things I'm seeing now is you can see it by whenever the economy is changing and how it changes. And the way we recommend, say, home ownership used to be a thing that was recommended, was part of the American dream. It was something that we said this is one of the biggest avenues of wealth creation. This is how you can leave something to pass on to your family. And, you have guys have a roof over your head. It was a no-brainer. As that slowly ticked away from being feasible for everyone involved, now people are looking to rent, or the amount of people that are said to be able to possibly afford a house in their lifetime has dropped. The age of a first-time home buyer has gone up. I think it's something like it's high 30s, maybe even 40 years old now. So as these change, so too does the messaging. Now I see a lot of content where people saying there's no purpose in you buying a house, as if these things no longer matter. Right? As maybe it's one of the things that have become less and less handy. We just say, I want someone else to handle it. But people are trying to justify where they are economically with a dream. And the easiest thing sometimes is to tear things down. I don't see the point because it's not just, what if you pay this off and then you still owe? Yeah. If you're not privy to that, when you get your mortgage, you can escrow and have everything in there paid at once. Everything being your insurance and your property taxes, all paid into one. And it's an easier thing for you to do. But once you pay off your house, that's just the mortgage part of it that's gone. You're still going to owe insurance. You're still going to owe, right, for your property tax. So people are saying, well, I don't understand the point of that. Why would I have paid this thing off? I own it and I still got to pay blah, 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 blah. With insurance, you can't get around insurance, right? You get that. You have a car, you fully paid off your car, so insurance. But, I get what they're saying in terms of why should I still pay this? You might want to move to Florida because Ron DeSantis, hate him or love him, whatever way you feel about him, he says the same thing. I don't see the point in you paying property tax when you already paid the place off. I get what he's doing. He's trying to draw people into this, into Florida where they can, spend more money in there because it's not doing as well as it used to do with special interest. We can get into that later. But the point of that is that sometimes your bills will randomly go up. Randomly. Right? You think it's random. Maybe it's a difference in insurance. Maybe it's a new way for them to kind of squeeze us dry. But it does happen.
I just opened up one of my bills that I have to pay, and it is 4 times the normal amount. 4 times the normal amount. It's really 5 times the normal amount, if I gotta be real. I'm blessed to be able to take care of that, but realistically, who the fuck can afford a increase that is quadruple what the fuck you're used to paying? What are we doing, y'all? What are we doing? What's the plan? We got to start formulating some type of collective action, because ain't no way. Ain't no way.
I don't know what type of collective action we could possibly take, outside of maybe like a susu like we used to do back in the day. But yeah, this is why you always got to have that emergency fund. I know exactly what that's like every winter. I've got properties in the Northeast, and the renters and oil and the gas, they go through the roof. They go through the roof, and I just sit there and want to pull my hair out, right? But you have to have enough set aside to weather some of these storms, because it's always when things are going right or things are starting to go smooth, that's when you get hit, and you tend to get hit in threes. And listen, this is probably one of the most relatable crash outs I probably would have had at the time. Probably just as much as if you know someone's you walk back from the store and your car is absolutely just gone. I'd probably lose it more so than the guy in the next clip.
You gonna stop talking to me to go holler at her, dog? Come on, bro. You ain't gonna get her number. Boy, you better. Man, you left your door open, fool. Hey, bro, 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 bro. Hey. Yeah, she's getting up already. Holy shit, did that just what?
So listen, I consider myself fortunate to never have walked in a situation like, because I can't help but to think that you were set up, that this was just a setup. I'd even look at the cameraman and say, you probably set me up too. Like you couldn't tell me exactly what was happening. I think I'd crash out for the next 6 months over something like that. Just at the gas station. Also, shame on you leaving your car door open just to holler at someone. I tell you, a lot of times, lust is going to be the thing that does a lot of us in. Lust is going to be the thing that does a lot of us in.
So you got 5 meals for 8 kids.
You said, first of all, you said the babies were hungry, so I went and helped the first. I'm doing you a favor, though. Like, I'm helping you out here. Like, are you kidding me right now?
So you got 5 meals for 8 kids.
No, I got 5 meals for 5 kids.
So what am I supposed to do? Split up the sandwiches between them, or like? Cause I'm not gonna watch my older kids watch me eat.
Well, I'm not even on the front saying that, like, you know.
And even with the younger kids, there's 6 of them in here.
I'm helping, and I feel like you could do something as far as, like, you know, like getting your kids, like the older kids, something. I'm like, I figured you said the
if
kids
you would have told me, I would have sent you money for the older kids. You told me you were gonna do something for everybody.
You could have sent me money for the younger kids too. I'm like, I thought I was helping you out. Now you
can go ahead and pack that up.
I can go ahead and pack this up.
Yeah, because I'm not about to feed half of my kids. Am I supposed to
so
split a cheeseburger?
Your kids don't even got no food, and you have to sit there and be ungrateful and stuff like you can't just take what I offer. And then you talking about money. What money? Like
I would have sent you money.
Your kids are hungry. You don't have no money, but yeah, you're gonna send me money.
But I could have sent you like $10 to make sure you got like.
Could have sent you $10. To me, that's that's helpful. That's gonna make the difference, right? That's gonna be the thing that's helpful. Listen, when it comes down to it, sometimes you should crash out. If you telling me I can just pack this up, I think like most men, I'm pretty bad when it comes down to stuff like that. I take it as a dare. I take it as, oh, you serious, right? I'll absolutely do that. I like to take people at face value of what they say. If you want to say things to sort of just antagonize and push and pull, I'm going to listen to what you're saying, and I'm going to do it. I'm absolutely going to do it. Do not worry about me. I will pack it all up, right? I will pack it all away, and I hope you're looking as I'm outside, walking in, put it in the car. I'll be munching on the fries, having a grand old time, especially if none of those kids are mine. If none of those kids are mine, don't even worry about it, right? That's going to be my favorite thing to say. Hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And on my way, in one hand, I'll have the food, and the other hand, I'll just be blocking you. Right? That's all. That's all it is for me. So if you're the type, if you're fine with that, you can. It couldn't be me. It couldn't be me. Let's get to the show. All right. So, like always, hit the like button on your way in. Feel free to later on probably share this and hit the subscribe button. If you're new here, just find the channel. We try to do live streams at least once a week, and then sometimes do the mobile streams when we could fit in. But schedule permitting, we're trying to do a lot more lives. Also, 2 videos drop a day, 2 shorts a day. So trying to flood YouTube in the small way that it's possible, with actual decent content. We'll be trying to do more things in the upcoming weeks as more and more free time kind of hopefully frees up. But agree to disagree, right? Agree or disagree. This is one of those, again, most times we find it falls on one side. And maybe this week could be a little different. Let's take a look.
Agree or disagree? The only thing worse than unemployment is job security.
I can agree that not all of us should have phones and the ability to make hot takes. Like, I can agree that everyone has an opinion, and I can disagree that everyone's opinion should be heard. I don't know what any of that makes sense. That having a job would be worse than not having a job. And I was so flabbergasted by it. I went into, yeah, I had to play it again. I had to play it several times in order for trying to make sense of it. I'll hit you with it one more time.
Agree or disagree? The only thing worse than unemployment is job security.
And listen, she said it with so much conviction. Right? She said it with so much conviction. And like I said, I chased some of this stuff down. I went into the comments, and I'm seeing that she was in the comments, and she's talking about it in the sense that these jobs that aren't paying enough, that you're going and doing stuff that you hate. So versus if you don't have a job, what is your outlook? I think people get too comfortable on, the government assistance and what that may look like for them. But realistically, no, I'd rather be employed. I'd rather have building a resume, even if I hate the job. And I've worked jobs I hate. I've worked jobs I hate, but it all seemed to be a stepping stone to get me where I needed to be. And more importantly, even when I worked those jobs I hate, I met some fantastic people, absolute phenomenal people that changed my life. So maybe, and this is what I can really hit the saying on. I think it's a generational thing. We look at these things very differently, very, very differently. And I don't want to be, the old grandfather calling, the new generation lazy, but there's a part of it where, yeah, you guys aren't with it. You guys aren't with it. The work ethic is different, and maybe you need something different for your time. That could be a very real case. But for us, still kicking, still around, still probably, your coworkers, we're looking at this and saying, you don't make sense. You don't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I completely wholeheartedly disagree with the whole sentiment. But those times that you can't find work, sometimes, or you look at other people, Instagram is great for this. You look at other people, you look at their lives, and you say, yo, how are you in Dubai? How are you in Dublin? Right? How are you in Denmark? Right? I just picked 3 Ds, right? How are you in all these places? And I don't really ever see you talking about work or at work or whatever. Well, when she's attractive. So DJ Academics was going around this week and last week, really just kind of spilling the game of what's going on here.
Yo, 80% of these chicks out here escorts, straight up. The city girls, they promoted what's escort culture. Buy me a bag before I fuck you. It's all the same shit. Bring me on a trip for me to suck your dick. Pause. It's all the same shit. The difference is that there's just a little bit levels to it. There's certain chicks that flat out will just ask you for the bread. Yo, you want me to go? You want me to fly out to you? Well, I got a job. Give me 2 bands. Even then, they still try to say that's for their time, not for the box.
Listen, I think this is an open secret. Right? For those of us if you actually have a job and you understand the cost of things, you understand that someone else's fitness bill. You may not have understood what is happening on those trips, but in 2026, I can't say that anyone is not hyper aware of what's supposed to happen. And I say you should be hyper aware because a lot of times they'll come online and specifically tell about themselves. They'll tell the whole thing. So for you going out there being surprised, that shouldn't be the case at all. These people, these models, or these IG models going to, I'm saying IG models, like, come on, but they're going to Dubai. Well, you know what's happening in Dubai, right? That had a while ago, maybe 15 years ago, there was this site called Tag the Sponsor, who basically would pretend to be some rich prince sheik, and he would, DM beautiful women, and he'd get right to the point, and then act like he's buying them the tickets, asking them all for this personal information, and they're just posting the entire thing, just leaking the entire thing. He was just a guy, probably fed up with the game, but the stuff that the women you would look at and say, "Oh man, I wish I could be with her." This is stuff just going regular. It's out there. So for you not to understand, if you're getting, say, flued out, so you know what the expectation is, what's supposed to happen at the end of that. When you pick him up, that's what's supposed to happen. I'm not saying this is what I do. I'm not condoning this. I'm just saying this is what is going on today. So better that we open our eyes and have a better understanding of how everything is moving and shaking around us than pretending this is the harmful part, right? So I agree with them. This is the harmful part. It's regular people trying to keep up with that, thinking that there's now something wrong with their lives because they don't do those things. Moreover, when you get with a man and you have the expectation that he's supposed to do those same things for you, and it's like, no, why would you think that was possible? Well, because I saw it here, but that's never really a conversation. It's just no, a real man is supposed to be able to do X, Y, Z for his woman because you saw the fictionalized thought somewhere else. You said, yes, that sounds right. It sounds good. I do deserve that. But real life is rarely the same. In fact, it goes to show you how bad we are with money in our culture, in the Black community. It's something that we've historically kind of just been bad at. More to the point, it seems like there is, I want to say, a loss of hope and apathy for the Black community as a whole. You hope that things get better, but you don't really have any real expectation.
As a Black guy, man, the hardest thing I had to accept, and this is like by far the hardest thing I had to accept, is that there is no saving the community as a whole. Okay? Whatever was put in place has done such a fantastic job of dividing the entirety of what a community even is, that in order to get that shit back, you would effectively have to destroy everything and start over, right? You ever been in a situation when you're trying something, like you're working on something, and I am the biggest believer in that you should try your hardest to like maintain what you have and fix what inconsistency it is and then work off of that. But honestly, sometimes you just got to start all the way over from scratch, right? Because your motivation to start may have been wrong, and it guided you in a direction that you just are not comfortable with. Your ending result, or what you thought the end result was, was misguided or whatever the hell. And I get that bits and pieces of social media do not reflect real life, but a vast majority of social media does reflect real life. If you're a person like me and you're tired of seeing Black people go back and forth on this app, it's going to continue to happen, right? It's going to continue to happen. And not only is it going to continue to happen, it's going to continue to be incentivized to happen, right? The views are higher. The engagement is better. The consistency is easier. All of these things make for content. Unfortunately, that is a certain type of content. You got women out here saying, I'm not pro-Black, I'm pro-Black women. You got guys out here saying, well, if it ain't snowing, I ain't going. You see what I'm saying? It's like, these are things that are just going to continue to happen, and you just have to accept it, because what can you really do? You could just say, hey guys, stop doing that, and this is why you should stop doing that. And they'll probably tell you, shut the fuck up. Now, me personally, you do whatever the hell you want. This is your life. You genuinely can do whatever the fuck you want with your life, because I'm gonna do what I want with mine. However, it's really sad to have grown up from where I came from and to see the possibility of what a community could truly do and what it could truly be. And then to see, you know, what black folk have ultimately turned into, what can you do? The music is trash. The entertainment is trash. You know, of course there are good parts to everything, but it's like, what can you really do to like save? Like, you can't save the community. It is what it is. Whatever it is right now, it's just, we're finished.
So this is something that I struggled with for a couple of years ago. You know, I wanted to see what we could do to uplift, you know, the community. I mean, like everyone. And I was on a flight, you know, and I was reading the new Jim Crow, and I was reading a lot of these, you know, books, basic codes, and I was really into like, well, what can we do, right? Rather than just being someone that points a finger and complains and says, all right, what are you supposed to do? Or it's someone else's fault. Here's another reason. Or hell, there's a man out there who's got his thumb on the scales. And we had this conversation. And he said, right, and it's not a religious thing. It's not a political thing. He said, like the Jews leaving Egypt, you know, in the Bible. He said, not all of us are going to make it. And I share that. I share that on this channel often because it was profound to me. And I sat with that for 3 days, maybe like 77 hours, right? And it was really just, it almost absolved you of thinking that you were responsible for saving and changing everyone's mind. You can be a shining example, even to people close to you, even to your family, your friends and family. You could be the thing that you say, this is what we kind of need, and I move like this. But if they're not ready to receive that, there's nothing you can do. There's absolutely nothing to do. This is not to say that you should not be that example. You should not live, you know, that sort of righteous or life or be that change you want to see. But you have to first start very small with your own tribe, your own community, your own people around you, your circle. That's where it starts. And that's probably where it ends. You cannot, as a whole, gather everyone up and say, no, we are now going to move like this. No group can. But no group seems to be as low as we are as a whole. It's time that we have to be more cognizant of, like as a creator, I want to be more cognizant of what I'm putting out rather than simply yelling and screaming and talking about these hoes and bitches and ain't pandering. You want to say, all right, even if it's not as popular, even if it doesn't move the needle. I don't grow to the heights that some of these other platforms can grow to. At least I can say I tried to make some sort of difference, but you understand the limiting factors behind that. You are just not capable enough, big enough, influential enough to tell people, say, hey, you should probably put that down and find something better to do, you know, something more productive. You're harming your community. You being out here on the street, you being out here on the corner, it shortens your lifespan. And what is left of that lifespan will be spent incarcerated, enriching some other conglomerate, some other group of people that don't really think about you. All they see is their bank account, you know, growing. Even when you dedicate your entire life to a sport, to running headfirst into another man that looks like you, and you get in these millions, this is entertainment for the masses. This doesn't really move our needle forward, and the money that you get from that, you already don't have the best habits because of the environment you grew up in, because of the people you still keep around you. You know, you see like Jay Morant, you know, if you got all the talent in the world and can't seem to, you know, step away from guns. The point, like they're telling you, oh, just not guns. Don't do that. But when you grow up and you're indoctrinated in these spaces, this is it. This is all you can see. This is all you can do. It becomes a sad thing just to watch and observe, but it happens so frequently. So I've come to the conclusion, yes, you still want to be the example. Yes. But it's time to sometimes you got to separate and elevate. And then you find people that have that same like minded ideals and you create that little group, that community together. Over time, talking generations, maybe that can blossom into something else. But as a whole, there's no way to, even if you could snap your fingers and wipe the board clean and start over, everyone else in the world has an idea, a stereotyped idea of how to treat us. Until we start saying we're cleaning up these roles, we come like in Hollywood, when it comes down to making a movie and they have you doing something that it goes against as detrimental to the community, you got to look and say, I either need creative control over this, or I need to be able to talk about this as openly as possible when I'm doing the press tours. I have to be able to say this was this for this reason, or simply saying, as a whole, we stop accepting these roles. We don't need yet another slave movie. We don't need another movie of us shooting each other up. Yes, we know this happened in real life, but we're trying to work these things from different angles. But this is a hard thing to do when we don't really have a community, when we have something that's kind of been chopped down into individual little, fiefdoms. And each one is just saying, yo, I got to get mine. If I don't do it, someone else is going to do it. And that's the usual refrain when it comes down to, why are you selling drugs to the community? If I don't do it, someone's going to do it. Might as well be me. Well, you can do that for everything. Everything that is, harmful to people that look like you. I'm not going to do it, someone else can do it. What if everyone said, no, I'm not going to do that. Everyone just came and said, no, that's not for me. That's not what we do here. That's a full stop. That's a no. We're not about that anymore. I agree with him on this one. Sad. It's sad, but I completely agree with him on this one. All right. We're at the final segment, right? And here we're here to talk about it, right? Finishing last, nice guys, right? And you could raise your hand, you put a 1 in the chat, or just hit the comment section, depending on how you're seeing this. If you've been a nice guy, right? I've been a nice guy, and you don't really think about the term nice guys. You just think I don't do harm, I must be nice. But we understand there's the nice guy, the good guy. These characteristics have sort of changed over time. One of the things that people begin to understand about the good guy is the performative good guy. This is where it becomes kind of scary, where you will do and say anything to make that woman sort of just spend time with you, basically have sex with you. You'll say whatever you need to say. So you're not really good. You just, you're play acting. Because even then you realize that strategy is a long game. It's not something it's effective. As you see things be effective, i.e. the bad guy, right? And that's what a video is supposed to say. Why does the chaotic guy get the attention? The one that's in shootouts, the one that's doing everything but what we were told the good guy's supposed to do. You're supposed to, as a good guy, you're supposed to get the flowers, hold the door, pull the chair out. You're supposed to do all the chivalrous things. You're supposed to be there. You're supposed to comfort her. It's supposed to be happy wife, happy life. But when we, as men, we're looking and seeing what we're observing. We're seeing, hey, what is really happening in life? When I've tried these things, I didn't get any type of play. In fact, I was overlooked. In fact, I was made fun of. That's what happened to a lot of guys. That's a very normal occurrence. And it's not to say you abandon the good guy. No, you abandon the performative nature of it. You realize that there's what is being said to you versus what is reality. And we experience this, most of us as a whole experience this, especially as we get older, especially for the ones that actually made something of themselves. We're not even talking from high school to now. It can be something as simple as 4 or 5 years difference. When you were overlooked because you weren't what was important, what was in front of her face. That stability that most men that have worked on themselves, most good guys, they're stable and they've worked at that. That's been a constant in their life. And it keeps being a constant as they get older. The bad guys, the chaotic guys, stability is not really the name of the game. You can't be stable when you have nothing but gaps in your resume, when you have prison sentences. You're exciting, but you're not stable. And those tend to now be the opposite. So what we look at, we're saying you don't want the chaotic guy until you're older in life. Like Michael B. Jordan. When the lady tried to interview him, he said, didn't you try to play me in high school? And then there was this whole backlash about it. It's waiting to at the finish line for the guy that actually finally made it, that actually made something of himself. And now you want to try, and now he's important. He's viable. He's someone that you should pay attention to. And then when men kick back at that and say, yo, you didn't want me back then. Now, when you've made different choices in life, now you think I'm just sitting here available. And then you say, oh, they just kind of want revenge because they weren't chosen back then. You can call it what you want, right? You can call it what you want, but we're not elephants, but we got long memories. You remember the things that help motivate you to say, cool, you don't want me, I can't do anything about it. Whether or not the rejection was harsh or not, it was a life lesson. You move on further and further. You say, I got to do better things. I got to make changes in my life. And when you have, we recognize that I made these changes outside of you and sometimes despite of you. So when you come around at the finish line, or I'm nearing the finish line, now I'm a sure bet. Now you want the same sort of play and attention that I was trying to give you back then. You want it now. Like, no, I tried it that route. I tried to show you all the things. I tried to sing to you like Aladdin, but that wasn't important. It was the bad boy. You wanted him, but now he's got 4 or 5 kids. His life he's capped at $50,000-$60,000 hustling. And you look and say, well, now you want the stability because you have your set of kids, you have your set of trials. Now, men look at that and say, you want your cake and you want to eat it too. So we try to make it seem growing up that nice guys finish last. And that is somehow some sort of moniker that they should be proud of. They should be happy that they get a chance to finish at all. It's only when we wisened up and we realized you guys were the really good ones. Now we want to be with you. Men don't see it like that. They see it as a slap in the face, an insult. They don't see that as finishing. They see that as being not even second place, third place, runner up. You just decided because your life, you need stability. You need what I can bring now. Now you want to show up and say, and have these demands or have these desires. And I'm like, no, I don't even want to finish. It's not about nice guys finishing last. It's like, no, I don't want to finish with you at all. I want to go about whatever race I'm still running and wherever I'm trying to get. Now they're saying, I get the pick of the litter. I get to decide what I want, when I want it, how I want it. This is just it's not a thing that should be done maliciously. It's just a thing of nature. It's just a thing of time. The more we make more and more importance on what a man can do for you, the primary thing, the more we know we're going to have to start choosing for men that are older. As much as we seem to have a disdain for age gap dating, if you still want the things you wanted in your 20s, you still want them now in your 30s and 40s. Well, that man in his 30s and 40s can make that happen. And if all things being equal, he's probably wants a 20-year-old or, early 30-year-old version of you. If you're going to a man that now has finally finished his race, or in his process of finishing his race, and you want to say, hey, you should choose me, you got to have a hell of a PR team, a hell of a selling package where this is like, yeah, this makes sense. This is a good idea for me. Listen, this is my thoughts. I could be wholeheartedly off base here, right? And this is where, I like to, encourage people, if you're seeing this on a replay game, let us know in the comments what you think about some of the stuff like this. But I think men are pretty much set. If you didn't want me, then why do you want me now? Listen, we'll pick another date for the next stream, and I'll, try to give people at least a couple days advance notice when it's going to pop off. But then I'll see you in the next one.